Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Tuesday, the 11th of March. I'm CJ Baumgartner. That's Corey Tackman. Corey, not a lot of local stuff to hammer away at, but I guess we should just remind you that we do have a couple games on our broadcast schedule tomorrow night. Corey, where are you going?
I'm going to the University of Minnesota Duluth for 7AA boys basketball. The 6-seed Staples Motley Cardinals will play the 2-seed Pequot Lakes Patriots. That will be game 2 of 2 at the at Romano Gymnasium at UMD. Top-seeded ESCO will play the 4-seed Piers in game number 1. Scheduled for about a 7:30 start, which means roughly a 7:15 pregame. On AM 1430 and 98.5 FM, The Fan tomorrow night. I suspect, as usually the case, those games they usually start a little later than normal, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. I'll have more details, obviously, on that tomorrow as that game day approaches, but I am already trying to time out my day tomorrow and how long I'm going to be in this building compared to 6 hours on the road tomorrow, and then how long I'm going to be in the building, if at all, on Thursday.
Pretty much.
I've already started to scope out my plans for how that's going to go. But anyway, that's Wednesday on The Fan, and I think we've got 6A boys basketball too, right?
Yes, we do on the Superstation K106 105.9 FM, also streaming online at WadenaRadio.com or the Superstation K106 mobile app. Henning versus Ada Borup West, the Hornets versus the Cougars, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off on the Superstation K106, again, 105.9 FM, WadenaRadio.com, Superstation K106 mobile app from the Hive in Perham. Corey, I am also mapping out my route. It's just not quite as extreme as what you're going to have to do.
It'll be a little shorter. My route might be more direct as far as path goes from A to B.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, for me, it's going to be 2 roads, right? 3 roads.
Yeah.
And that's it. But yours is not going to be quite A to B, but it's going to be shorter.
Unless I'm just leaving right from the station in Wadena, in which case it's a pretty simple A to B.
And it's 1 row, 1 road. Then you still have me beat.
It's just 10 west. You go 10 east to 210 east to 35 north.
Can we go over our least favorite stretches of road in the entire state?
Yeah.
We have 2. One is Highway 59 from Montevideo to Marshall. But let's be honest, it's really not very good from like Detroit Lakes south. Especially once you get out of the lake stuff and you just get North Dakota and South Dakota winds blowing in. And then the other stretch is pretty much all of Highway 210.
From Breckenridge all the way to Carlton. That's my.
It has Fergus to the Four Corners.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's wide open. The road's taken care of. The shoulders are wide. The ditches like that. I don't mind that stretch at all. It's dark, but I don't mind that stretch at all. Pretty much everywhere else is like the rolliest, bumpiest. Am I going to run over an Amish person? Am I going to hit a deer? Am I going to hit Sasquatch? It stinks.
I have seen in my life driving 3 times, I've seen a bear on the road, and 2 of those times have been driving on Highway 210. One was outside of McGregor, and the other one was in between Hewitt and the Four Corners.
Yep.
So that, I mean, yes, basically from 210, and this isn't just in our listening area. This is from Breckenridge all the way to Carlton. You are driving through swamp the entire time.
From North Dakota to Wisconsin.
Swamp. The entire time, which again means a lot of deer, which means the bears, which
it's
means
not even Highway 2. Like if you went the northern route, right, and you got on at least Highway 2 is going to be 4 lane, and you're going to be able to cruise, and there's going to be other people like between McGregor and Carlton. It is you and the guitars from Deliverance.
That's it. as somebody who made that drive plenty of times, the cell service is also horrible on that stretch too. So if you get a flat tire or hit a deer, you better start walking.
So, I mean, yeah, just hope for somebody will come strolling by.
Yeah, in about 4 hours.
That's what their truck sounds like.
Uh-huh. All right, we got to talk about the Vikings Day, Corey, because they had just a huge one. But before we do that, why don't we shout out Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade?
Well, have you ever heard of Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade?
I have.
Yeah, it's right in downtown Wadena, and holy moly, will they hook you up? And do they want to hook you up with this big, huge birthday party giveaway? All right, it is a $500 FunZone Arcade party package. This includes a birthday party and $150 in FunZone cards. All you need to do is find the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade Facebook page, scan the QR code, and you're entered. You're entered to win. Check out this birthday party. Check out Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. A great spot. By the way, you can have your party there and not win the party. Like an unbelievable spot to have a party, especially if you say, let's say hypothetically, CJ, you have like a 7-year-old.
Uh-huh.
Like a first grader. Just hypothetically speaking, and he and all his buddies love the arcade and pizza and chicken and running around and being absolute maniacs in a public location.
Uh-huh.
Again, total hypothetical here. What an awesome spot for a party is the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Go take advantage of it.
All right. Speaking of people taking advantage of things, the Minnesota Vikings found out yesterday on day one of the legal tampering period. There was no tampering beforehand, Corey, none whatsoever. But the 5 seconds in, we already were getting contracts announced with full details.
Yes.
But there was no tampering before the legal tampering period.
Correct.
We found out, not right away, but relatively early in the legal tampering period, that Sam Darnold was signing a 3-year, $110 million contract with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
An end of an era that was albeit brief, but
call it an era.
They won 14 games. I think it's worth at least a fun look back.
Maybe stint. Is there a more a gracious, warm? What's a warmer word? What's a warmer word than stint?
Period.
No, that to me is only a year. What is this? What was it? Helm with Sam Darnold at the helm.
Sure.
That makes it seem like it was his.
Yeah.
It doesn't indicate for how long.
Yeah. Tenure?
A year. I don't know. I don't know what the right word is for this.
Sam Darnold is a Seattle Seahawk. That's the words we do know. He's going to a situation where they lost their two best wide receivers. Their offensive line is met, and their offensive coordinator is Clint Kubiak.
So we're going to talk about what's going on. And there's another, by the way, former ex-Viking quarterback who's going to another place with a banged up or with a disbanded offensive line. That's coming in this conversation too.
Yeah, if you're talking about Daniel Jones,
yes,
he's going to the Indianapolis Colts for 1 year, $13 million. Remember, Sam Darnold went to the Vikings for 1 year, $10 million. Now the salary cap is going up, so if you adjust for inflation, maybe it's roughly the same contract.
It's the KOC tax. He went to the Vikings. Oh, I mean, half a season with Minnesota, the reclamation project.
It's funny, that guy was disgraced getting cut of mid-season by the team that drafted him and extended him like 15 months before. And he gets a 1 year, $13 million deal where he is theoretically going to compete for some playing time with Anthony Richardson.
He's a perfect backup for Anthony Richardson, by the way.
Uh-huh.
I'm so happy the Vikings didn't re-sign him. So happy. And every time people talked about Daniel Jones, Vikings fans last year, I was like, shut up.
Uh-huh.
Also, I'm happy for him, and I'm happy that the Vikings didn't do it. Just like Darnold. I'm so happy for Darnold. He earned it. And the Vikings didn't do it.
I know. Two things can be true at once. Sam Darnold had a very nice year in Minnesota, and I would not have been opposed to him returning.
Nope.
But also the fact that he didn't come back is a good thing, and I'm happy about it.
Yes.
That you can, those two thoughts weirdly aren't mutually exclusive.
They are not.
And here's why. Because one, let the JJ McCarthy era in Minnesota officially begin. Because last year they signed Darnold to a 1-year, $10 million deal because they needed a quarterback on the roster. They had no starting caliber quarterback on the roster. You do in JJ McCarthy. He's a number 10 overall pick. Pat McAfee asked the question like earlier in the week on Twitter. He's like, who's going to be starting for the quarterback in Minnesota because of the Darnold news and the Jones news and whatever. I was like, I don't know. Maybe the quarterback they drafted number 10 overall last year.
Right.
Maybe that's the guy they start. No. I think it was Suhan of the Star Tribune had a title this morning. Vikings sign an Aaron. They sign a Rodgers. They do not sign Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's true.
They re-signed Aaron Jones, and we might as well get into the Vikings free agent additions here.
Yeah, let's get them all up here.
So they started things out kind of quiet. So they ended up signing right away a corner by, and I'm blanking on his first name. Isaiah Rodgers. Yes. He was a backup corner for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's like a 2-year deal, something pretty short, nothing too committal. He was like the 4th or 5th corner on that Eagles roster, which was loaded at cornerback and missed all of 2023 getting suspended for the gambling stuff. This is a Brian Flores buy low, kind of that, Blake Cashman, like he was injured a lot, which is why the Vikings kind of scooped him up on the cheaper. This is the Flores sees something in him. You take a chance on him. You bring him in your building. You need to replace your corners in your room. Stephon Gilmore is not coming back. Shaq Griffin probably isn't coming back. We'll get to Byron Murphy in a second, but as you're looking at it, you could potentially have lost him. So you needed to at least get a body in the door to be with Mekhi Blackman in that cornerback room. You lose Cam Bynum. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts. You lose one of your safeties, Harrison Smith, who knows what he's doing. You could potentially be without your your 2 starting safeties going into the year. So that's not ideal. And it was kind of a quiet start, Corey. It felt like the Vikings weren't really doing a ton in free agency. They signed a backup safety who played in the UFL, Bubba Thomas or whatever his name was. His first name was Bubba. That whatever, rotational guy. But then all of a sudden, Monday night is when things really started to heat up, and the Vikings re-signed cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. to a 3-year, $66 million contract. And our guy Zeke probably most excited. He is a quoted huge Byron Murphy guy.
Pro Bowler, baby.
Pro Bowler Byron Murphy.
And by the way, Pro Bowl is a thing you're going to hear a lot coming up when we get to the rest of these names.
The Pro Bowl doesn't mean what it used to, but gall darn it, those agents sure love to use them in negotiations.
They should. They earned it.
Uh-huh.
Players earned those spots.
So that was huge for the Minnesota Vikings. You re-sign Byron Murphy. You add Rodgers in the room. Mekhi Blackman is coming off the ACL. So at least now you have 3 starting caliber corners on your roster. And we'll get to where they could draft this in a second, but because now you look and you say, what were the other areas of need? The Vikings re-signed Aaron Jones. So they at least plugged up the running back room for now. They plugged up the cornerback room for now. And now, where was the biggest areas of need going into the offseason, Corey? I think we all could agree that it's the interior offensive line and the interior defensive line, correct?
Yep.
Especially when Kevin O'Connell, after they lost to the Rams, went out at State Farm Stadium or whatever they call it in Phoenix, Glendale, and said, we need to have better play from our interior offensive line. When the head coach is saying that bluntly after a playoff loss, you know that that's going to be a priority come free agency time. And oh boy, did the Vikings make some moves. Early this morning, Kwesi was cooking breakfast, Corey, with all the stuff he was bringing up. Center, Ryan Kelly, coming to the Vikings on a 2-year, $18 million contract, a veteran center who's worked with Andrew Luck, who's going to help a rookie quarterback, essentially, in J.J. McCarthy, go onto the field, and probably means the end of Garrett Bradbury's time in Minnesota. Just kind of on its face, what do you think of that one?
mean, you just said it already. They needed help on the interior of the offensive line. They needed help on the interior of the defensive line. And this was step number one in starting to complete that process. We mentioned Pro Bowler. I think Pro Bowler goes in front of this guy's name. Well, he's good. He's a nice player.
Right. Experienced, helps you out. Relatively cheap contract, 2 years, $18 million for a center. Garrett Bradbury's time is over. So you say, okay, well, cool. They upgraded at center, but you need to upgrade at both guards. And you essentially just replaced one starter for another. So you got better, but like you still need to address two other positions. Well, they again this morning announced that they are signing guard Will Fries to a 5-year, $88 million contract. Guards get paid in this league. So not only do you get center Ryan Kelly, Corey, you also get Fries with that.
And where did he come from?
Indianapolis.
And where did Daniel Jones just sign?
Indianapolis.
Where did the guy who struggles with interior pressure more than any quarterback in recent history in the NFL just sign? He signed with the team that just got rid of their entire interior offensive line. That sucks for him, but it's so good for the Vikings.
So good. So good. So if you're the Vikings, and now there's still some stuff to be worked out because you still have to figure out, and I don't know off the top of my head if Will Fries goes to left guard or right guard. I'm assuming it's left guard. So you still have to figure out that right guard. Reisner is not under contract. Ed Ingram is still there, but you benched him in his rookie contract, which, probably doesn't bode well for him. But still, you had three areas. Now, if you look at the offensive line as the 5 starters, Darisaw on one side, then Fries, then Kelly, figure out the left guard, and then Brian O'Neill, that is a nice offensive line.
Yeah, it's a really good spot to be in. And we know there's never going to be a ton of depth on the offensive line. Most teams are just that. Most teams are, once you get past that 6th offensive lineman, it's pretty light.
It's why guards are getting the money they're getting. Is because if you have a good one, you got to pay them.
That's exactly right. So it'll be, whatever. There's movement to be made here. My question is, and because I don't know this, what's the left tackle? What's his name? That when Darisaw got hurt, Cam
Robinson.
Yeah, what's his story? What's his deal look like? Is he gone too?
He is gone. Yeah, he is going to hit the market. I'm not sure if he's signed a deal yet. My guess is he's probably waiting on that secondary wave once everybody kind of misses on their first option and then they swing back around to the backup options.
Because Darisaw, I would imagine it's probably up for debate if he's back right away, right?
I think because it happened in October, he probably should be. But yeah, it depends on how early he's not going to hit the jump like training camp probably.
Sure.
But he'll probably be ready for week 1.
Okay, cool. No, this is awesome. That's a great start. And I know you're not doing this necessarily chronologically and how it happened this morning, but this is a great start for the Vikings in free agency.
And again, you have a rookie quarterback essentially rookie in JJ McCarthy. He hasn't played a single NFL snap in a real game. He's had practice. He's been in the building. He understands the offense like a second-year player, but he hasn't actually played a snap. And talking with our sales guy, Jared, who's a Packer fan, Jordan Love was the same way. You still are going to make rookie mistakes on the field because you've never played on the field. Jordan Love did that in Green Bay, and JJ McCarthy will as a Viking. But you are giving him a good offensive line. You are giving him TJ Hawkinson. You are giving him Josh Oliver. You are giving him Justin Jefferson.
There we go. I was wondering why you said Josh Oliver before Jettas.
Working on the offensive line part of it. And then on the outside, you have Jefferson, and then you have Addison, and then you have Aaron Jones as a stable veteran running back behind you. This still is a very good setup, and you can make the case it's better because Hawkinson was coming back off the ACL a year ago and didn't really get into form until mid-season. So you can make a case that it's the same, if not better, than it was a year ago. Addison has taken another step. Jefferson is still Jefferson. This is a really nice room for JJ McCarthy to step into and be the leader of this team because they are giving him the keys. It is all his. And now you need to flip over to back to the defensive side of the ball.
Can I just interrupt you very quickly? I do want to, I'm nitpicking on your choice of words. Even I agree with you and what you said. But what's cool about this and the way this is working out so far, at least offensively, is that JJ actually doesn't have to be the leader.
Yes.
No, he's got to take control and he's got to do the quarterback things. I'm not.
You just need to like grab it by the reins day one.
This is all everything that we've talked about so far and everything we're going to talk about here, especially what happened defensively, is a result of not having quarterback to pay for. A rookie quarterback under contract opens up worlds of opportunities for your team. And they have now offensively for JJ given him the best wide receiver in football, like the best number 2 wide receiver in football, one of the top 4 tight ends in the entire game of football, of a stable veteran in the backfield. They've got bookends on each tackles. They've shored up things in the middle. He doesn't have to be a leader. He just needs to play and trust himself, and he'll be able to trust people around him. He's not going to have to worry about anything else. He just needs to worry about himself and getting it right. I'm just thrilled for that sort of opportunity for him.
And here's the other thing. Sam Darnold, by the metrics, gave you top 10 quarterback play last year.
Yes.
You were unlikely to get top 10 quarterback play from J.J. McCarthy in essentially a rookie season. But the way that you're addressing the roster is he doesn't have to give you top 10 quarterback play to be a good team. Now, they're not going to win 14 games next year. That's just, it only happened. This is the second time in franchise history they've won 14 or more games ever. Like, to say that that's going to happen back-to-back years is being a little foolish. But they are going to be a 9 to 12 win team next year with all this talent. And if J.J. McCarthy can just keep the bus going. Like, he doesn't need to be a top player. He just, because he has so much talent around him.
They're on paper, offensively, a better team than they were to start the 24 season.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that was ever in question starting the 24 season was, could Sam Darnold just not implode? And was that defense going to be able to withstand?
And for the first 16 weeks, it looked great.
And they've helped that as well in this free agency.
Exactly. We talked about, again, the interior offensive line. But if you looked at the defense, the corners, they weren't great, but they got the job done. The linebacking crew was fantastic when you look at Grenard, Cashman, Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner worked in a little bit, but overall, like, that was just a unit that excelled the linebacking core. And I'm counting Grenard as an outside linebacker, technically in a 3-4. But like, that was a unit that was the best on that defense. You don't touch that. Everybody's under contract. You're good there. The defensive line was something that did need work because, again, you got some good production from Harrison Phillips. He is a nice defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You got some Jerry Tillery production. That's nice. But with Harrison Phillips, he's a starting caliber player, but he is a run stuffer and not a pass rusher. And as the Vikings learned, because their interior offensive line was so bad, there were some defensive linemen interior that could just wreck game plans by rushing the quarterback from the front. And this was a lot heavier of a problem with Kirk Cousins, but still reigns true for any quarterback. Look at Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Pressure coming right in your face is some of the hardest to get around. Because at least with on the edges, you can step up in the pocket. And that's what quarterbacks against the Vikings did. The Vikings would blitz because they couldn't get pressure on their front. And then that would enable a quarterback, if they could protect it properly, which is why Stafford, Goff, veteran quarterbacks were able to have success against the Vikings. They could pinpoint the pressure, set the protection, and find the open man. So the Vikings needed to get better on their defensive line. So what they do is they go and sign officially Jonathan Allen to a 3-year, $60 million contract as a pass rushing defensive tackle. Now you can sign him officially because he was cut by his team. So you can sign him before tomorrow where he can officially sign free agents. But that was announced. And on its face, he got cut by the Commanders. So it's a little like you're signing a guy who got cut by his team and a team that's ready to win. So that's a little like, yeah. But the Vikings have money to spend. They have money to burn. So they'll sign him to a 3-year, $60 million contract. And then they are going to sign Jonathan Hargrave, who is a defensive lineman interior from the San Francisco 49ers. He's going to get cut, and the Vikings are going to sign him once he is officially released tomorrow. So you're adding 2 veterans into mix with Harrison Phillips on that interior defensive line nose tackle spot. You upgraded from Jerry Tillery and Harrison Phillips to Harrison Phillips and Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. huge. Like, that cannot be understated how important that is for the defensive line to beef up like that.
So if you are a Pete Bursich guy, and I am, generally speaking, he is when it comes to talking about football and the Minnesota Vikings, I know he works for the Vikings radio network, and he is as Viking centric as they come, but he's very well reasoned. I find anyway, in his opinions, and he is completely bought into these defensive tackle signings. I saw a tweet from him this morning that said, with Jonathan Allen, Paul Allen and I could play safety, and Ben Lieber could play nickel. Like that, they believe so much now in the ability of these new guys brought in, combined with Grenard and Van Ginkel, like the pressure that they're going to be able to get from now the front 3 or 4, however it is you want to say it, with this 3-4 deep. Like, they have shored up a huge problem. And we talked about it last year. We talked about it the year before. Their corners are going to be, on paper, more exciting than they were coming in. But one of the ways you take pressure off defensive backs is by just getting to the quarterback sooner and putting a lot of pressure there. And we know the way old Mr. Flores likes to play defense. If you actually give him some bona fide ability in those front 7 to get to the quarterback, it's going to allow those defensive backs it's going to take pressure off of them, much like shoring up your offensive line will take pressure off of JJ.
Well, and remember, if we're going to look at the team that just won the Super Bowl and the Philadelphia Eagles, how did they basically make Mahomes impotent? Like, how did they make Mahomes not be able to do anything against them?
Did you say impotent?
A little. I don't know.
No, that was funny. That was I love
They were able to do it because they could rush 4 effectively every single time. They blitzed 0 times in a Super Bowl against the best quarterback in the NFL because Jalen Carter's a monster. He's a monster. Now, the Vikings don't have Jalen Carter. That guy is one of the best in the league. Thanks for getting in. Thanks for being a reckless driver and falling into the Philadelphia Eagles laps. But that's the plan. And Flores still can blitz, but now you don't have to call engage 8 every play like in Madden, where it's like, I don't know, man, we're just sending guys and hoping one of them gets through. You can be a little more opportunistic. You can be a little more tactile. You can figure things out a little bit because your front guys can get home and create pressure. So now those guys are coming in to clean. Your blitzers are coming in to clean up, not to create additional pressure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what this is going to provide. And not just that Allen is a good signing regardless. It's like a nice B signing, but then you combine it with Hargrave as well. And just the depth you're providing in that area, because what are good defensive lines? They're deep because you can rotate. And when you rotate, you keep guys fresh all game long, which means that in the fourth quarter, when you need to stop, you can get a sack because your guys aren't gassed. And that's going to be huge, especially for those big guys up front. I mean, Harrison Phillips, the season's wore on. His first couple of years in Minnesota, it wasn't great because he would be asked to play so much and he just would wear down. Now, if you give him legit guys to rotate with, you can let him and Allen and Hargraves all kind of play at max effort as much as possible, which again, this is all on paper. This is off-season champs. The Bears are off-season champs for like the 4th year in a row now. But on paper, things are looking really, really good for the Minnesota Vikings.
It's exactly what you wanted out of this situation, right? I mean, this goes back to Kirk Cousins stuff. And then it transpired, it rolled over into Sam Darnold because of the year that he had. But this conversation you can't win without a good quarterback. That is true. If we're talking about winning Super Bowls, you cannot win without a good quarterback. You cannot win a Super Bowl without a competent starting quarterback. That's just a rule. But sneaky, and maybe more importantly, this is not even like a bold take, you can't win a Super Bowl without a quarterback who's cheap. And Philadelphia has a quarterback who's cheaper than normal, than Patrick Mahomes for sure.
Right.
But you just can't. You cannot do it
unless you have a legit top 5 quarterback.
Legit, right? Exactly.
McCarthy is not that right now.
And
mean,
McCarthy's not that right now, and Patrick Mahomes is evidence of that because that team is not well balanced. They have a really good defense, and Patrick Mahomes, and they still find their way in the Super Bowl every single year. He doesn't count. Patrick Mahomes doesn't count for this.
Right.
The Ravens of old don't count for this because their defense was so superior to everything else that existed on the entire planet that they don't count. So yes, there's other paths to this, but the way to win a Super Bowl is to be so damn good at every single spot that it doesn't matter. And Philadelphia was just straight up awesome at every single position group. And they had depth at every single position group. And one of the reasons they were able to make that happen is because Jalen doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So now that Darnold is gone, and now that they can focus on JJ McCarthy, or at least that's what we're looking at right now, right? This is still all moving, a moving target here. They just have tons and tons and tons of money available, and they're spending it on very key, important spots. Now, there's two things to follow this up. First question is there enough money left to sign Aaron Rodgers?
No, he's talking with the Giants and the Steelers right now.
Good. Let him. The second question is Kwesi. Unbelievable stuff here in the first 24 to 36 hours of this. This is really fun. This is really exciting. I don't think you could draw it up any better than this. I don't know necessarily about specific players that way, but as far as position groups and what I'm seeing from how people are responding, this is good. This is as good as it gets.
They addressed every key area. They didn't leave one area. They addressed any area that you said, that's a bit of a question mark. They addressed it.
Okay. We're a month away from the draft. I know they don't have a lot of draft capital this season. Please, for the love of God, draft somebody who's going to be okay.
Yeah. Draft Jordan Addison again or something like that.
He kind of is not drafted very well at all. He's done this free agent stuff unbelievably. Is this year 3 or 4 now for him?
Off season number 4, I believe, because they've had 3 seasons.
3 full seasons with him. He's done this free agent stuff well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have really any complaints. The draft thing is the next thing. Find someone. Maybe it's your other guard. Maybe it is, but they only have 3 picks, right?
Right. Yeah, they only have 3 picks currently because they traded a second rounder, this year's second rounder, to help them get a first rounder last year, which was, again, I think ammo in case they wanted to get a quarterback. Instead, they used it to go trade up and get Dallas Turner, which cost them more draft capital to do. The Vikings sunk a lot of resources into Dallas Turner, and the jury's still out on him because he had a rookie year where they didn't want him. They moved him from DN to linebacker, essentially, in a year where their linebackers played so great. Why would you put a rookie on the field when Cashman and Van Ginkel and Grenard were playing as well as they did? There was no reason to throw him out there. And they're developing him behind the scenes. He's a Flores project right now. But that being said, yeah, you don't have a lot of draft capital this year, which makes me think this is a class where defensive lineman was really loaded. So I was under the impression that, what if the Vikings just, you sign a guy to be a DL, but then you go draft a guy with your first round pick. The fact that they got Allen and Hargraves kind of makes me think it's got to be corner, right? If you're the Vikings and you draft and you stick and pick at 23 or wherever they're at, cornerback seems like the play to get another young corner in the building. And yeah, again, this is without doing much research, unless Genty falls into your lap, in which case take Genty and then pair him with Aaron Jones, and that'd be really fun. But I think right now corner has to be it because Murphy's coming back, Mekhi Blackman's coming off an ACL, and you signed Rodgers to help just kind of add some depth in the room. If you want to pair another corner in that room, and then that way you can develop him and then kind of keep adding to that defense because the offense feels pretty good. You're probably not going to draft a high-level guard in round 1, which makes me think maybe then they draft, again, this is a conversation maybe for another day, but just the gut level after free agency, you could also trade back into the second round, accumulate more picks, draft your guard in the second round and a corner in the second round, and then things are going to look pretty good for your team. You don't have a lot of draft capital, but they had so much salary cap space where it almost doesn't really, not that it doesn't matter, but you can get away with it because of how much salary cap space you had. If you had a Kirk Cousins or a Sam Darnold contract on your books and tried to do all this, then yeah, you're in trouble.
So this comes from somebody who I don't know anything. I don't know how any of this stuff works. It's all very weird. I mostly just enjoy watching it happen more than I understand how it works. Does that make sense?
You don't know how the sausage is made, but you sure like the sausage. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we'd have picked a different food, but yeah, no, that's fine. Sausage is good. Vikings picked 24th. Okay. From NFL.com, the first round draft order, they picked 24th right after Green Bay at 23. On the list, cornerback, defensive tackle, running back, offensive guard, and safety is their that's their list. They've kind of shored up this cornerback thing, like you said, unless there's somebody who falls to them that they need to get at corner. Doesn't this just really reek of them trading back and getting picks, like trading out of the first round to get a second rounder, trading out of the third round to get into the second round? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Doesn't this feel like they're not going to only have 3 picks in this draft?
Probably not. They'll find some way, even if they, let's say, use their first round pick, maybe they trade back in the third round to accumulate 2 fourth rounders, and at least then you get 2 swings at the plate instead of 1 or something like that. But yeah, there's no way that they only finish with 3. Theoretically, they have not cut Garrett Bradbury yet as of recording. So somebody's like, you could trade Garrett Bradbury, who's a relatively cheap center compared to what some of these rates are, and you could trade him to a team that maybe misses out on some of those top free agents.
Indianapolis.
Right, exactly. You could trade him to Indy. You could trade him to Seattle. He's already worked with Sam Darnold. Clint Kubiak is the OC. Like, you could theoretically go there, and you're not going to get much, but could you get like a 5th round pick? Could you get a 6th rounder and just add to the deck? Yeah, I think that's also on the table. So anyway, long-winded way of saying the Vikings did what they were supposed to do. They spent 3 years getting to this point to where they could open up the checkbook and spend on some of these players and overspend, by the way. And it's okay to overspend. It's okay to overspend on a car if you have all the money in the bank for it. You know what I mean? It's okay to overspend on some things if you know you can pay for them. And the Vikings have the salary space to overpay on Aaron Jones and on a guard and on a whatever because they have the salary space. If they were overpaying to go over the cap and they'd have to cut and make some moves and then that's weird. But they have the salary cap space, which is really fun.
Now, there's only 2 things that need to happen that are left. JJ needs to be fine.
Yeah.
He needs to be fine. He needs to show flashes, but he needs to be there needs to be growth throughout the year. And they need to get lucky. Like those are and by the way, those are the things that every team needs who don't have like a Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Matt, you know what I mean? Like a Josh Allen, like a bona fide guy at that quarterback position. The Vikings need to be competent, and then they need to get a little lucky.
Uh-huh.
That's it. But they've set themselves up to only needing those 2 things now. They need injuries need to work in their favor. Balls need to bounce their way. Field goals need to double doink through rather than double doink out. McCarthy needs to find his groove. And fortunately, he's got guys like Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and any other sons to throw to.
According to Pelissero, Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the Vikings beat out in a bidding war for Will Fries the Colts, Cardinals, Seahawks, Patriots. This is like a legit bidding war for the top guard on the market. The Vikings were able to pay him, and the NFLPA survey should not go undone with the fact that the Wilfs and Kevin O'Connell have made a priority to make this a great place for players to go to. And that does help when the money's equal. What place do players say is better to go to? What do they take care of you? Oh, and they're also going to pay me what I'm asking and more. I mean, you combine that, the Vikings got the top guard on the market for that reason.
Dodgers.
Uh-huh.
Look at that. The Minnesota Vikings are the Dodgers of the NFL.
For this year.
I like that.
I'll take it. Now let's do what the Dodgers did last year. Please, I'm begging. All right, Corey, let's do a quick Immaculate Grid before we get that going. Why don't you explain to the good folks at home what an Immaculate Grid is?
You don't want to get arrested for something? Will you get arrested with me if the Vikings win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, sure.
Yes. Content.
As you can see, this is us lighting a flagpole in Wadena on fire.
Oh, I can't wait. The Immaculate Grid is looks like a tic-tac-toe board with 3 categories across the top, 3 categories down the side. You just need to find the missing link where those categories overlap with each other. It's really straightforward. Obviously, you try to go for, it's an Immaculate Grid. You try to go for an immaculate score. The lower the score, the better. CJ and I, if we can, we will, but otherwise we will happily take the layups. Categories across the top include the Philadelphia Phillies, a 100-plus RBI season batting, and played catcher for a minimum of 1 game. Categories down the side include the LA Dodgers, the Chicago Cubs, and the St. Louis Cardinals.
All right, here we go. I'm already doing this. I know. Here, I'm going for the sicko on this one. Play catcher, minimum 1 game. That is Drew Butera.
Boo, beautiful.
Boom. All right, Twins legend, Drew Butera, by the way.
6. Yeah, no. How do you not love the Buteras? You know what I mean? The baseball family.
Sal Butera, Twins legend as well.
Love everything about him. Always have, always will. Maybe.
Philly Dodger. Do we want to go Jimmy Rollins or Chase Utley?
Yes,
probably Utley because Utley had the infamous slide. Remember, they took out. I can't remember who they played. I think it was the Mets. And Utley did a hard slide into second.
Okay.
And the Mets were not too happy with that.
Okay.
That was kind of around the time where they talked about redoing the sliding into second rules.
Sure.
For breaking up double plays. Chase, because I think he broke somebody's leg.
Okay.
Doing that. It was like the 2015 NLCS or something like that. Anyway, Dodgers choked. Mets ended up going to the World Series. They lost to the Royals. That was not fun. Let's see. A Philly Cub. Well, that's Jake Arrieta.
Yeah, sure. Great. Get the ones you know.
Jake Arrieta. We have a Philly Cardinal. That one might be a little hard unless you can think of somebody, Corey.
There's too much red going on here off the top of my head. That makes it scary.
Played catcher, minimum 1 game. I mean, Yachty is staring us right in the face with this one. But we could go Wilson Contreras because he was also a Cub. And then you could go David Ross for the Cubs.
Henry Blanco.
For the Cubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Played from 97 to 2013. Really?
Played for the Twins. Remember him?
Nope. 2%.
Booyah.
Booyah. Here we'll go Wilson Contreras because Yachty will just. Okay.
Don't pick Collins. Oh, it's 2 L's.
I know. Now I'm. Because William Contreras also play. Oh.
Well, you said Wilson this whole time. Are you doubting yourself?
A little bit, but here we go. We're good. 8%. Everybody picked Yachty.
Lovely. Yeah, that number is 92% Yachty. There's been 2 players picked for that category.
100% Albert Pujols on this 100-plus RBI season, or you think there's enough Mark McGuire's in there?
Oh, yeah. There's yes.
Stan Musial, do you think he ever got 100 RBIs?
Let's take a layup. Whichever one you want. It doesn't matter to me.
Let's go Albert. Let's not think too hard about this one. 27%.
Okay, good.
All right, we need a 100-plus RBI season from the Cubs or the Dodgers. The Dodgers have plenty of them.
So many.
Freddie Freeman. I don't know if Shohei definitely got 100 RBIs this year for the Dodgers in 2024.
I have no idea. If you know that, then that's probably true. But I think about some of the, going a little more old school, like Mike Piazza.
Oh yeah.
You could Jeff Kent. I would assume Jeff Kent got 100 RBIs in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have to do it for the Dodgers?
Yes, he had to have done it for the Dodgers.
So that is maybe dicey, but Jeff Kent was an awesome hitter and like right in the middle of their order. Who else? I mean, Shohei would be the guess, but I don't.
Because he had
the Cubs. I would just go with like Sammy Sosa or something.
Yeah, let's go with Sosa. Let's go with the man. Do you see he was back in the Cubs dugout for spring training this year?
I did not see that.
He's still hanging around. Sammy Sosa.
I mean, there's old school there too, right? Like with
is there an Ernie Banks that gets in there? Is there
Ryan Sandberg? Probably not, but
yeah.
I mean, they've had guys mash for forever for the Cubs. They just Alfonso Soriano.
I mean, Chris Bryant won an MVP. Rizzo was in there.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And 100+ RBI season. You want to go with Kent?
Boy, that makes me nervous, but just when you just are willing to take that answer so quickly, makes me think, do we know, like, did Shohei get 100?
Well, I mean, he stole like 60 bases, which means he played a lot, which means he got on base a lot, which means, you know what I mean? Like if he had that high in numbers in stolen bases, and I feel like
bases is not
I know it's not driving in runs, but it feels like then it means you got a lot of hits, you got on base a lot, and that Dodgers, I mean, Freddie Freeman also could be on this list.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's hard for me because I'm old. I'm old. I'm an old baseball fan. RBIs used to really matter.
How about
and they don't matter as much anymore.
How about like Andre Ethier?
Andre Ethier was another. Sean Green was another name I thought of.
Matt Kemp.
Oh, Matt Kemp's great.
I
mean, they've been the Dodgers. The Dodgers are like the Cubs. You could go back.
Right.
You could pick 1,000 names probably.
Exact. Pee Wee Herman. Yeah. You know what? Let's just go with Shohei.
Are you sure?
I sure hope so. Now that
he's only played for them for a year.
Yeah.
Did he get 100 RBIs last year?
I feel like he did because he hit. I feel like he did. I'm going with it.
I mean, they were awesome, and people were on base all the time. Did he hit the full season? He hit the full season, right?
He hit the full season. He didn't pitch. I think he DH'd all year.
I mean, man, that feels really freaking safe, but I'm going to look up Jeff Kent in case it's wrong.
Boom. We're on the board. 15% Shohei.
I'm going to look up Jeff Kent anyway.
Shohei Ohtani had 130 RBIs last year.
So many.
He had 197 hits and 54 home runs with a 310 average. Do you think he was the MVP last year?
Was he the MVP last year?
That's a good question. Yes, he was. He was the MVP.
Okay, that's good. Jeff Kent.
Francisco Lindor was second in voting.
Jeff Kent had 105 in 2005 with the Dodgers. And that was his last stellar year. 68, 79, 59 with the Dodgers the last 3 years of his career. But he was awesome. He had 128 with the Giants in 1998. Jeff Kent was great.
Shohei Ohtani, by the way, led Major League Baseball scoring 134 runs last year. He had a 390 on base, a 646 slugging, and an OPS of 1,036, which led the league. He received all 30 first place votes for MVP.
Good.
That guy's good. Turns out.
Yeah, he's the greatest baseball player who's ever lived. So
that helps.
All right. How are we going to do this?
Ooh, a Philly Cardinal. There's got to be more than what I'm thinking of.
And who is that?
I don't know.
Well, there's definitely more than nobody.
Right.
I don't want to call out what you just said there, but do you have a guess even right now?
Not off the top of my head. I'm trying to run down pitcher names. Cole Hamels never pitched for them. I don't think Papelbon did. Howard never did. Rollins never did. Utley never did. Ben Revere never did. Oh, this is annoying. This is so annoying.
How about like Rick Ankiel? Did he?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Jim Edmonds? Jim Edmonds was with the Angels and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That again, it's the I mean, they're the exact same school colors here that make this
right. Just that dark red.
Edgar Renteria, did he play for the Phillies ever?
It's a good question. I don't know. You're going beyond my baseball memory. Like a journeyman infielder or something like that. Saltalamacchia. I think he was a catcher, but
how about Polanco? Placido Polanco?
Placido Polanco.
He played for the Phillies?
Yeah, Placido Polanco. Yeah, I think so. What the heck?
There's our first journeyman. Let's give ourselves 2 minutes to work through this.
Okay, I was gonna say because we're getting pressed for time here.
Yes, but at least we've got one guess. So let's think. You can't pick a catcher. It probably is a catcher, which is the funniest thing about this. But
well, in the Philadelphia is a franchise that goes back a long ways too. So that's
like did Bob Gibson play for the Phillies or something?
Right.
You know what I mean?
The Cardinals are like a heritage franchise. Shoot. It's got to be like some reliever. I'm really blanking. I can't think of anything.
Isringhausen or something? Did he play?
Isringhausen.
It's too old for you, I'm guessing.
Yes. I just remember him from Moneyball.
Right.
I mean, Hunter Pence never played for the Cardinals.
I know it's corner outfielders, second baseman, third baseman, catchers, and bullpen. Those are if you can focus in on some of those.
Ooh. I mean,
if it were up to me to decide how many players ever played for the Phillies in their entire franchise history, I think I could give you 10 names total.
Right. Which is crazy. Castellanos never played for the Cardinals, I believe. Did he?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
He played for the Reds, I remember.
See, again, it's that stupid red is messing this up.
Uh-huh.
They do this on purpose. Immaculate Grid creators. Big jerks.
Jerks. I'm just going to say it. There's real jerks.
I don't know. I think we've exhausted our...
I know. I think we need to wrap it up. Placido Polanco?
Let's give it a shot.
Placido Polanco.
Come on, Corey. Come on, Tackman.
Here we go. Ah! Let's go. Immaculate Grid, baby. Score of 109. 3% of people guessed Placido Polanco. So not only was it a correct answer, but it was pretty darn sick.
You're not going to be able to wipe the smile off my face the rest of the day.
Your wife is going to come home with your kids and she's going to be like, what are you so happy about? And you're going to
Polanco.
And you're going to tell her and she's going to go, I'm sorry I asked.
I cannot wait when we're done here to look up who played for the Phillies and the Cardinals and be embarrassed by the names that are there.
Oh, good day for us. Immaculate Grid Monday on a Tuesday. That does it for the sports desk. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.